Alright, thank you for being here. I'm going to be sharing my informal speech on how to catch a fish in the Willamette Valley. For starters, you're going to need your base setup. Now, you can get this at anywhere from Walmart to Bi-Mart, Cabela's, anywhere you can basically find outdoor stuff. You'll find that it has a reel, your rod, and then a line on that. And most kits you can buy for relatively cheap come with like gear you can use, tackle box with hooks, weights, jigs, and it works for just about any fish around here. Now, with all that being said, there's a couple places you can go fish around here. If you go to Oregon Department Fish and Wildlife, it tells you places where they stock trout, when they stock it, how many fish they put there, and where the body of water is general to where you're at. So you can find like Mackenzie River has like 8 to 10 locations they stock riverbanks at. Alden Baker Park is one of the most local places around here that holds a consistent amount of rainbow trout and sometimes very big fish. So when you're using one of these setups, you'll find that the line on here can be really weak and very thin, which works in certain conditions better than others. Or you can get an orange line that's got 8 strands of line all braided together for really big fish. So here around our general area, you'll find that there's salmon, steelhead, and trout in the cold bodies of water, which primarily dominate the species. You can find bass and bluegill and crappie and perch and all the warm water species, usually in the summer, lakes and ponds. But for my example, I'll be talking about the Mackenzie River. Mackenzie is a bigger river and has a lot of cold water from the snowmelt. You'll find that it also gets a lot of salmon and a lot of steelhead. This previous year had a record-breaking amount of summer steelhead in the last decade and also had a consistent amount of spring chinook. So this setup right here, I would not use for bigger fish, but if you're just getting into the general scheme of things, this setup right here can tackle, if you really needed to, could take on a steelhead, but you'd have to buckle down and get ready to fight that. Now, I'm speaking all of this from a perspective, I was a fishing club president for 4 years at Sheldon High School. I started that club when I was really young. Always enjoyed the outdoors, getting outside, even when it's raining like almost every other day in Oregon. And I would go out and stand in the rain and cast until I couldn't feel my arms. And I would go out there and sometimes I wouldn't catch a fish, but I just enjoyed being outside just because of being outside was always kind of calming for me, and I enjoyed it to just kind of get away from school or sports or whatever else was going on. Now, I will say that over the last 4 years, I did a lot more specific fishing. I would take a fly fishing approach, or I would use a bait caster, or I would go trolling, different strategies to tackle certain bodies of water for certain fish. Now, I'll say that this setup here I got from my dad for Christmas would be one that I would use for the rest of my life if I could only use one setup. Now, it can take on big fish, but not ideally, but it can also catch fish that are the size of your finger if you really needed to. I will say that this setup's probably more expensive than your general entry setup. You can get really cheap stuff that still catches really nice fish at Walmart and Bi-Mart, like I said earlier. But I'll say that Alden Baker Park, right next to Autzen, has your average 10 to 12 inch rainbow trout. Now for 12 to 10 inch fish, you're probably going to want 6-pound tests, which may sound a little overkill, but when you have a big fish pulling at the speed that it's pulling, you need some line that's going to be able to fight the fish. But any thicker, they'll become spooked and they won't actually go for any of the stuff you throw at them. But in like clear water, you can get away with thinner line, dirty water, thicker line. So you can get as complicated into it as you want, or you can keep it as simple as you really need to. But at the end of the day, just getting outside and go with your friends to go try and catch fish is always super fun. And you can even go to garage sales and find stuff that works just as well. I'll say that there's a lot of places to go here, and as the weather gets nicer in the spring, there's more opportunities and more fish to be caught. And I would encourage, find a group of friends, go outside, and just take a crack at it. I mean, worst case scenario, you don't catch any fish and you just have fun with your friends. But you'll find that if you kind of apply certain strategies, and you'll learn over time, you can just take a simple setup, go to your closest body of water, and probably catch a fish.
How much does speed of water matter, and temperature and levels?
So speed of water, in a river, you'll find that speed of water will dictate what gear you use and when you use it. Overall depth of water will tell you where fish are going to be. So in a deeper pocket of water, those fish are going to be on the bottom. In shallower water, they'll be more towards the surface. So you'll find in a strong rapid, below it might have a deeper pocket where fish would hold up. But above it might have some really thin water where fish could be traveling through. And water temperature will dictate whether those fish bite or not. In really cold water, you'll find that those fish will be super finicky and you have to hit them in the nose for them to eat what you have. But in warmer water, too warm, they'll be just moving around and they won't eat anything. But there's usually a happy medium of about 43 to 55 degrees is where you're looking for to catch the most optimal water temperature to catch fish. But great question. Yeah. Well, thank you for listening to my informal speech. Have a great rest of your day.